So since I've come back to Ireland, I spent most of my time, not most of my time, but hanging around with a lot of Thelemites. And I figured, oh, okay, I think it's time to give Aleister Crowley another shot. I was suggested to read book number 4, which is Liber IV when you're using Roman numerals, but then I got confused with the Roman numerals and got Liber IX, which is Liber 9. I'm not going to try and pronounce the Latin version of it. So Liber 9 is essentially, this is for developing physical endurance for magicians. It's a very easy yoga book for experienced yogis. All these tasks are quite easy. If no one's ever done yoga before, well then this is a good start for doing yoga. Now this book was written almost 100 years ago, so this is actually back in time when yoga was predominantly about breathing and meditation, and the postures really were just to straighten your spine. Whereas nowadays, modern yoga tends to be a lot about flexibility. That's not really actually real yoga. Yoga is more about breathing and meditation. And so this book, Liber 9 by Aleister Crowley, is actually closer to the old yoga traditions than any of the modern yoga. So if you actually do hatha yoga that is now mostly practiced in the West and most of India, this is actually closer to actual real yoga. So it starts off with physical clairvoyance, and this is a test that you can do. Basically, you're trying to guess the tarot cards. So you shuffle the deck, you guess which card it is, and then you look at the card and you write down your results. The kind of more easier version of this is guessing what suit it is. So be it if it's the element of fire, air, earth or water or spirit, and in this case the major arcana cards are representing spirit. So when I was doing it, so when you're doing this, if you pick the one suit all the time, you're likely to get it right twice out of 7 attempts. So my first attempt, I got a 4 out of 7 attempts. And my second try, I got it actually 0 out of 7. This was because the second time I did it, I was waiting for something. I was doing this while I was waiting to get a phone call or something, so my mind actually wasn't in the right place. So when I had my full concentration, I was doing better than what your statistical odds are, and when I wasn't paying attention, I was doing worse. So that's quite interesting. And then when I developed a daily practice based on Liber 9, I just did this card once. I just made one guess of the suit, and I got it right every time, funny enough. It was interesting because it kind of then sets kind of your energy for your yoga session. And how this kind of makes the tarot actually make even more sense. If you're able to put your hand on top of a tarot card, you actually eventually begin to actually feel what card it is. So if you actually know your tarot deck and you know what it looks like, you can actually put your hand on it and you can actually feel what card it is. It actually makes sense because it's just your hand is just becoming more sensitive, and you feel actually the cards actually physically feel different. So it's kind of interesting. So the more you use tarot cards in general, tarot cards begin to tell you things, and you're like, wow, it's insanely accurate. How can it be that specific? And it's probably because your subconscious knows what cards they are, because you can actually feel the difference between which cards are which. And there's obviously some people who are able to guess 20 out of 78 times, which is apparently, you should be able to get it 1 out of 78 times, whereas getting it 20 out of 78 times means that you've got pretty good physical clairvoyance. So this is not, so one person might say this is psychic abilities, another person might say, well, actually makes sense why you're able to physically tell the difference between the cards even though you can't see them. So it's quite interesting. The asanas are really simple. There's basically different kind of sitting and standing postures. The purpose of this is just to get your back straight and get balance. If you want good physical yoga, you're better off looking elsewhere. But if you've never done yoga before, sure, this is a good start. The pranayama, I would call the kind of pranayama that's described in this book, I call it nostril yoga. I have done it before for small periods of time, but this is the first time I've ever actually done it for, like, say, 25 minutes at a time. The book doesn't go into details on why this practice is useful, but it balances out your left and right brain hemisphere because it puts air pressure on different sides of your brain. So you're breathing in one air up one nose, exhaling out the other, and this actually balances out your brain. And if you do this for a while, you can actually, I'm not great at doing this, but I'm going to practice more, get better at it. You can actually, without touching your nose, just pick one nostril to breathe in, and ideally, so we're doing something artistic, you breathe through the left nostril. If you're doing something more calculated, you breathe through the right nostril. Now, in Aleister Crowley's way of doing it, you eventually are slowing down your breathing, so you're exhaling over a certain amount of time, inhaling for a certain amount of time, and then and some of them you might hold. So at some point, you will be breathing one breath per minute. So if you do this practice for, say, at least 10 minutes, you should feel more relaxed and lightheaded, maybe a bit more hyper, a bit more focused. So then there's the thought control part, which is basically meditation. And this bit I probably found the hardest because I don't usually meditate with using mental objects. I tend to use physical objects, as in my physical body, to concentrate on. So I found trying to imagine colorful objects to be a lot difficult, even though sometimes I can listen to a CD and imagine things just because constantly trying to think of an object. So when I was doing this practice daily, I'd use my tarot cards, I'd guess the suit, and whichever suit it was, that would determine which Hindu symbol I then use. So it was interesting about this yoga practice that Aleister Crowley has made. He's combining tarot and yoga together. So it's quite an interesting concept. But so let's say I pick my tarot card was a major arcana, be spared. I then have to imagine a black oval. And so whenever thoughts arise, my concentration goes back into thinking about a black oval. Problem I have with this is I'm not very good at visualizations. I'm good at concentrating. Today I did Zazen for 2 hours, but not so good at visuals. So the last part of this, which I completed today, was it's encouraging you to test yourself physically. Now, one of the options is drink to your excess limit, which I have done before. I no longer do. I don't drink anymore. So as my physical test, I decided to go on a fast, where I only had liquids. So for the first 22 hours, I only had water, tea, and coffee. After 22 hours, I made a smoothie out of watermelon, beetroot, and some spices. So it was still a very liquidy juice, more than a smoothie. And then after 25 hours, I then had a soup with chunks, with a little bit of chunks of vegetables in it. And so when the peas started hitting my belly, it was like orgasmic. It was like, I haven't had solid food in a long time. Anyway, I'll go, and so I only just finished my fast now for the entire day. I'll make another video about it because fasting is an interesting topic of its own. But so I first started reading Liber 9 last week, and it only takes you a few minutes to actually read the book, but I've been testing out every day, different aspects of it every day for the past week. It's very simple yoga. If you're a yogi, you'll find it easy to do. If you've done yoga before meditation, and this is quite a good start. You can make an easy alternate version. You say meditate for an hour, do the postures for an hour. You can just do it for 10 minutes at a time. Do each part for 10 minutes, quite easy. So going forward, so after using Liber 9 as my daily yoga practice, will I continue with it next week? I will take ideas from it and put it as part of my daily yoga routine, or I have a daily yoga routine that's built for my particular body. I will continue picking the tarot cards and guessing the suit before each yoga session, because it's just a good idea. I'll continue with my normal yoga routine, which suits my body. I will continue I will add Aleister Crowley's pranayama. I already do different kinds of pranayama, but this one I quite enjoyed it, and I'd like to actually master nostril yoga. And I'm going to use his version of meditation. I prefer Zazen, but maybe somehow I can combine the two together. So Liber 9, not the most difficult yoga books, but still the end result is a clear head and increased concentration. An introduction into the world of Thelema.